What should be the approach for the people to mental health right now? How important is public speaking as a coach? What are the things that you have seen the pattern inside people that's stopping them to go to the next level? Welcome to another episode of the Sagar Sangam Show, and today we have a very special guest who has inspired me through his journey. He is a Success Gang Super Speaker winner season 1. He's an amazing fitness and lifestyle coach who helps people reverse their age and has successfully done that for himself. He's 50 and he cannot believe by looking at it. He says this lifetime is very quite less to do everything he wishes for. That's why he started his mission to help a lot of people reverse their age. Without further ado, let's welcome Warun Mehta to our interview show. Welcome Warun to our interview show, and I'm super excited and I'm really honored to have you here.
How's it going, Sagar? Great to be here.
Yes, super awesome, super excited. Varun, you're 50. I cannot believe. Looks like you're late 20s or early 30s. Literally, wow. That is something. Whenever I see you, like you make me feel like that. So, what is that secret? Are you trying to compete with Anil Kapoor?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Anil Kapoor, by the way, great example. I mean, hardly trying to compete. If I could be anywhere near what that guy is, what that guy looks like at his age, that would be fantastic. So he's a great example. Thanks for bringing him up. Yeah. So secret. I mean, I would say yes. There are a lot of things you can do, which I do on a day-to-day basis. There are a lot of hacks you can do. There's a lot of lifestyle changes you can adopt. And of course, it's got to do with the mindset and your subconscious and, working on your psychology, pretty much through the entire end-to-end approach, which is what I help people with as well.
So what is that tipping point when exactly you thought of or that inspired your journey to start this, you started thinking that you can help people reverse their age? What is that tipping point?
Wow. Okay. So yes, you rightly said that, because yes, we all have tipping points, which pretty much lead to our mission in lives. I'd say, one of the things that I came across a statement, I don't know who said it, to be honest. And the statement was, we're living too short and we're dying too long. See, if you really look at that, wow. We'll literally have our productive years are what, 20s, 30s, 40s. After that, pretty much people are trying not to die by managing their symptoms, by managing their bodies, dragging their bodies around. I mean, they don't look like, or they don't feel like they're in the peak state of life or peak state of health. So it's like, and then it just slides down further and further, 50s, 60s, 70s. When I used to do my live events pre-COVID, one of the questions I used to ask people from the stage who were attending the event, I used to ask them, how long would you like to live? Okay, typically I'd get a response like, we're good until we're 70s, until we are healthy. As soon as we start losing our health, we don't want to be around. That was under the presupposition, when I started thinking about it, it was under the presupposition that when you get to your 70s and when you go beyond 70s, your body gets frail. You get diseased, you have to depend on other people, you don't have the same kind of energy. I challenged all those assumptions. I literally do. And I think that our body, our organs are meant to live much, much longer. Just like we don't know what our, mental potential is. Just like we don't tap into that completely. Same thing, we're not tapping into a complete physical potential as well. And I strongly believe that. So that's the other reason. And then I would say the third would be when, in my own journey, as I was working on my health, nursing myself back to good health, and I started feeling a lot better by all the things that I learned by applying them. And then I was 10 kilos overweight at one point in time. And then I started working on my body transformation. And fortunately, that worked out well too. That's when I asked myself question, what else is there? I had this obsession, a lifelong obsession like in the health domain, what else is there? Because I know our body is an amazing biocomputer that is capable of phenomenal things. So I'm always asking myself, what else is there? How else can I tap into its full potential? That's when I discovered the magic of reverse aging and longevity. And that's when I realized that as humans, as I said before, we haven't even tapped into 1/10 of the potential, the physical potential we have. And that is where this obsession came from.
Amazing. Like, so which year that was, like, I think, is it something, any health disorder or something that is, or something happened?
Well, to be honest, I've had a very sick childhood, right? I mean, I was a very, very sick child throughout my life. So there was a lot of trauma around that. And I would say my health setbacks and health episodes, breakdowns kept happening over and over and over and over, to the extent that I was always in a state of trauma and fear and anxiety as to, when would be the next spell? Because I didn't know how to deal with that. And then what, broke the camel's back, as they say, or what was the last straw, was 12 years ago when I had a massive health breakdown. And I've talked about it in my journey as well. Massive health breakdown wherein I literally, when I woke up in a hospital, having gone unconscious at home, I woke up in a hospital and I found out that I was pre-diabetic. I had really bad digestive disorders like IBD, IBS. I had PTSD, the mental disorder. That's when literally I woke up like, okay, I'm like, you know what? I got to make a choice. I got to do something about it. And that's when I decided to really dive headlong and become an expert in this domain, in my own health and my body. Okay. And then I realized that if we don't become an expert in our own health and body, everything else is secondary. So that was first. And as I healed myself, as I was telling you before, then I started focusing on body transformation. And third was when I moved into the reverse aging and longevity, which is my current obsession. I don't know where we go from here. I don't know. So I can't give you, I would say, a year that this happened.
I'm sure that you must be having that difficult time when you say trauma and PTSD thing. So what is the significance of that mental health on your body transformations?
So, as PTSD, the very word says, post-traumatic stress disorder. And as I was just saying, living in trauma for the most of my life, I didn't know that I was embodying that trauma. I didn't know that I had PTSD. So, a lot of people are walking around without knowing they have these mental disorders. I mean, in fact, if you have any of the symptoms that I talked about before, if you all feel like a loner, if you don't have anyone to talk to, if you don't express your feelings on a regular basis, I'd say, if you have trouble sleeping, like I did, if you are jumpy, aggressive, short-tempered, it could be any of these things. You could have that mental disorder that I did. So that is a huge impact. What I realized, Sagar, is that most of the source of our energy is actually threefold, right? So there's psychological or spiritual or psycho-spiritual, as we say. Second is emotional, and third is physical, right? So we being spiritual beings, we have a lot of spiritual energy, and we are also emotional beings. We go through emotions every single day. So there's a lot of energy tied up in that. And third is the physical. All the food that we eat also turns into energy. So if we don't channel these sources of energy in the right way, it can wreak havoc in our lives completely. So we have to harness that energy. We have to channelize in the right way. Otherwise, those energy blocks can create a lot of issues, sometimes mental disorders as well. So I learned how to channelize these, by moving into my body as well. So that was another turning point for me to learn more about the physical transformation as well, and how it was affecting my health, my mental instability. And there's a direct correlation. So just like if you take care of physical health, it will take care of mental health. Mind is a software. Your brain is your hardware. You don't see your mind anywhere. So it's what you feed in there. So that's why the energy blocks. So if you're looking after your brain through proper nutrition and through proper lifestyle, your brain health, and at the same time, you're looking after your thoughts by moving that energy and all the things that I've talked about as well. So then you're twofold. So you're taking care of the hardware and you're taking care of the software as well. That's what leads to actually good mental health. So it's not just about talking about it. Yes, that's very important. Then I built many other practices like journaling, meditation, becoming more self-aware. I mean, it took me years and years of self-awareness to realize what my triggers were and working on my triggers too. So it's a bunch of those practices coming together that help me heal through it, actually.
Now you talked about this mental health, but when it comes to mental health in India, it is still taboo in India, right? And you being the victim and successfully overcoming this mental health issue, what should be the approach for the people to mental health right now?
Right. So I would just say the things that I just talked about, right?
Yes.
So, all those symptoms, first of all, going deep and recognizing that you might have an issue. As I was saying, any of those symptoms that I talked about, right? If you're being jumpy, if you're being aggressive, if you're just frustrated for no reason, you're agitated, you don't know why you're doing that, right? Or you're having trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep. You're not functioning like a normal
human
being, right? There's an issue. So first recognize and acknowledge that, and then maybe get help around it. And then ultimately, what does it take to start functioning like a normal human being is what I said. Start focusing on your physical health as well. Now, it is difficult. I know it's easier said than done, but just take it a step-by-step approach, Start focusing on the bright side of life. Start focusing on talking to people. I give an example. In my graduate school saga, I was in a university overseas in a grad school. And at that point in time, I was living alone. And there was a lot of work I had to do by myself as well. So there wasn't a lot of human interaction going on. What I realized at that point in time is that when we're not interacting with other humans on a regular basis, we go in a different dimension. We go in a different thought world. We're thinking different thoughts. Like we're not in touch with reality. That can also be the start of a lot of mental issues. So, if you look at the healthiest places in the world called blue zones, one of the fundamental things is they're very social beings. They're always connecting. That is why this stuff happens.
I think their most happiness index is very good at there.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Right. Because they're very social. They always have social activities going on as well. That is why, as I was saying, a lot of this stuff happened during COVID because people went into isolation. They weren't connecting with others. So that is very important for us, right? And then practices of self-awareness, as I was saying before, what triggers you? And that only comes through self-awareness. If you have a regular meditation practice, if you're regularly journaling, if you get to know about yourself. And the third and most important for me is physical movement, because the energy, you have to move that energy into your body. Really, you have to move the energy. We're designed to move, okay? Life is movement. This earth is a moving planet, in a moving galaxy, in a moving universe, right? So everything's moving. Everything's growing, dying, moving constantly. That's what we got to be doing. If you become sedentary, if you're not moving, that's a death knell to your mental health. Of course, to your physical health, but also to your mental health.
Amazing, Warun. I think that is a very crucial part of so many people. As you mentioned, we need to be socialized. We need to be keep on interacting with people. And so how your coaching, how do you, as a coach, how do you help that? Do you have any coaching system? How do you actually do that, implements in your coaching system or your student life? So if you can just share.
So in the health domain, so most of the people, of course, come to me with reverse aging, longevity issues, right? Where they want to start working on that. And of course, there might be once you start working on it, then you have to start working on the fundamentals as well, right? So we do an analysis. We do an analysis where they are today. We do a body composition analysis where we do a mental health analysis. We do an analysis of where they are today. And sometimes some issues crop up. There might be chronic health issues, some things. So we have to take those into stride as well. So in their journey, they have to start healing themselves. Okay. And there are 3 stages of transformation in your physical health saga. One is healing. See, unless you've healed yourself, you cannot move into maintenance phase. And once you move into maintenance phase is only when you can move into transformation phase, because every phase requires different protocol. It requires different diet. It requires different nutritional, different fitness protocol. In a healing phase, you cannot go, for example, on a high protein diet, It doesn't make sense. In a maintenance phase, yes, you can, but you'll be more balanced. In a transformation phase, where you're transforming your body, your macronutrient profile completely changes. Your fitness completely changes. The workouts that you do completely changes as well. So based on where someone is, we design those programs accordingly. And of course, when you're working on all those things, your mental health vastly improves. Because what is negative mental health? Is basically lack of happy chemicals in your body, or happy hormones, lack of happy hormones, right? I mean, especially lack of dopamine. So when you're connecting with others, what we're talking about, you generate dopamine. When you work out, you generate serotonin and endorphins, right? So you generate all these happy hormones and chemicals, which will make you so much happier and more fulfilled in life.
Wow, that's so really awesome. So can you, would you like to share any transformational result that you got for any student and that really amazed you? Wow, any fulfilling moment? Because whenever I see as a coach, it is not about how much money we make or something, but the transformation we get from that is something best fulfilling moment. So what was that is one moment if you'd like to share?
That's a great question, Sagar. And it speaks to what's on your wall back there, impact over income, right?
Yes,
nice.
Yes.
So that also tells me where your focus is, which is on impact. So yeah, thanks for asking that. This comes to my mind. This was about 3 years ago. There was this lady I was working with. So when she came in and, so we do a discovery call, right? So when she came in, we started talking and she described that for the last so many years, her symptoms were like, I would say, jigsaw puzzle. She couldn't piece them together. She even went to so many doctors and experts and they couldn't piece them together. They couldn't diagnose what the actual issue was. And this discovery call was supposed to be for 45 minutes and it went on for 2.5 hours. And we just kept digging deeper and deeper. And there was unexplained weight loss. There was unexplained, hair fall. There was unexplained mood swings, fatigue, lethargy, and all this and sometimes there would be unexplained weight gain, massive weight gain as well. And all this while she was in a very healthy, calorie controlled diet. She was looking after herself well. She was moving. She was working out as best as she could. Of course, she had some physical issues, including some lower back issues and stuff. And as I kept digging deeper, I'm like, this is interesting because it was, symptoms were disconnected from a lot of things. So I'm like, where is this coming from? So we kept digging deeper and deeper. And then as she came on board and we started working on her, we ran just a few essential tests and, have these health assessment forms they started answering. And then a pattern emerged, Sagar. Something that no one was able to diagnose for the last 6 to 7 years. We got to it within about 3 weeks to a month just because we went through a structured approach and because we listened to her. Now, of course, no offense to doctors, but doctors have limited time, right? You go to a doctor's clinic, they can give you only limited time. And it's also symptoms based, right? You've got these symptoms. There's probably a diagnosis. You have to run a few tests, maybe. You get some medication and you're out, right? But as health coaches, from a functional medicine point of view, from an integrative medicine point of view, we look at a person as a whole. We look at the person. We don't look at the disease. Okay, we look at the person that's causing it rather than the disease attacking the person, because the lifestyle of a person that's causing something. And then so we went deeper and deeper into it. The diagnosis that came out just about in 3 weeks into the program was that she had thyroid dysfunction. No one had gone into that level and gave her that diagnosis. As soon as we got the diagnosis, a lot of unexplained things started becoming like, okay, that makes sense. Now she felt very liberated. She's like, okay, at least I know what I have. I can do something about it. Then we designed a protocol. It took her a year for all her symptoms to start going into remission. And as they did, she felt so liberated, so free. And you know what the best part, Sagar? Now, this is why I'm telling you this story, is because when all this happened, she made it her life's work to do it for other people. She's like, I didn't know what I was suffering. And it was like, being in a prison without being in a physical prison. And as soon as she came out of it, she felt so free and liberated. She wanted to do it for others. So she started learning more about it. And today she's helping other people find out specifically their thyroid dysfunction and helping them with it. And you know what? This is the stuff that legends are made of. And this kind of work gives me complete satisfaction and joy like nothing else.
The best thing that we could ever do for the people around us. When it comes to like this, implementing all the stuff that a coach mentioned, but still people in this health journey, they try to give up in between. Okay, so they give up. So what is the message for them so that they can come back?
Another golden question, my man. Wow. Yes, you're right. A lot of people like stop, start,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So they get on a health journey, on a fitness journey, and they're all motivated, and suddenly there's momentum in between. Yes. Been through that, by the way, as well, for a long time. So, couple of things. See, what's not going to work, I tell you what's not going to work, is temporary motivation, or looking at someone on Instagram and their body transformation or their health transformation and jumping on the bandwagon, or looking at the latest trends of, superfoods or new fitness fads and trying out everything. That's not going to work. Okay, I'll be upfront about it. What's going to work is, first of all, why are you doing this? Okay, get very clear on that. I had complete clarity. Now, for my health, it was complete clarity because it was for me, it was for my family. I wanted to get well for my family and for the people I served. And of course, for me as well, because I wanted to live a full life. I wanted to live a quality life. I wanted to enhance the quality of my life. I wanted to experience everything that was possible. You know, Socrates says, Socrates said that no man or woman has the right to die without knowing what the body is fully capable of. See how deep that is? And how we never focus on our physical body and what it's capable of? Okay, that statement just got me. So I would say that's one reason that you should never, ever even look at giving up on that journey. Second is, there's so much sheer joy in inhabiting a light body, a fit body. You know, it's your carrier, it's your house. You're basically a spirit. This is your house, right? Now, if your house is in amazing condition, you will feel really good about it. Now, imagine if you come back from work into your house, which is all littered and messed up, and there's mold and there's crap everywhere, right? There's food items lying around, it's mess. How would you feel? You would not be able to think clearly. You won't be able to function well. At the same time, if you were to come back to a house that is well lit, beautiful, clean, there's beautiful aroma coming out of certain places, there's beautiful food smell coming out, right? And now you feel the joy of coming home. You might never even want to leave that kind of home. Now that's the difference. Now, when you inhabit a body like that, it changes the game for you. You know, everyone talks about living up to their full potential, but you've got to have your carrier living up to full potential for you to live up to your full physical, mental potential, to your career potential, to your financial potential. I mean, that's the very basis, isn't it? Okay, so I would say these would be the reasons. I mean, I would always remember Socrates, what he said. I would also add to it, Sagar, this is not your life to mess with. Okay? It's a God's gift to you. And you owe it to God to be the best version of that. And finally, I would say, who do you do it for? You know, my wife and I, we have a commitment to stay fit for each other. We do it for each other. So you figure out, who is it for? We do it for each other. Plus, I'm doing it for my future kids. I don't have kids right now, but I know I'm going to have it in the future, right? So I want to make sure that I'm healthy, fit, I have plenty of energy to play with them as they're growing old. Not growing old, but as they're growing younger, right? So I want to make sure my why is clear, and who am I doing it for is clear as well. So figure that out. Who are you doing it for? Is it your family? Is it for yourself? Is it the people in the community you serve? You know, is it for your partner? Is it for your kids you have right now? Or is it for future kids? Because we'll do more for others than we'll do for ourselves. So keep that in mind.
Amazing, Varun. The why part, that is something that really hit me hard. That you do it for someone else. And yes, I think that is one of the biggest thing that we should do. And also, when it comes to implementing these things, I think we have to give time, money, space, so that we can actually invest some time on those type of things. Specifically, we think this fitness journey sometimes comes from a borrowed beliefs or like artificially beliefs. Okay, that person is doing, let me do it.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Right.
any tips that you like to give those who are fitness enthusiasts that they can even do it from home by not going to gym? So, how do you recommend by going to gym or from home itself they can stay fit? Any tips for them?
Good question. Good question. So look, I mean, you can join a gym. A lot of people join the gym, but they don't regularly go to the gym because then you need another spell. I mean, most people are busy in their lives, right? When they're working all day, it takes an extra dose of motivation for them to travel through the traffic to go to the gym. They're like, by the time they're like, I don't have the motivation, so they'll skip some days. And the key is consistency. So what I've found is, of course, going to the gym really helps. But if you can be consistent, even from home, you can build a world-class body. You can have world-class fitness. You can have world-class health. In fact, that's what we do in our program as well. So we run this 3-month transformational journeys, physical transformational journeys, nutritional transformational journeys from home. And the key really is to get the proper guidance, to have a proper structured system, step-by-step system, so you're progressing, and to have a trainer, someone who's world-class, who knows what they're doing, and they're watching every form so that you're not getting injured, causing injury to yourself as well. So, and the other aspect, which you know very well, is the community support, because there will be days you will not feel motivated. There will be days you don't feel like working out. There will be days you don't feel like taking care of your health. But when you have that community that's really switched on and turned on with a clear why and who they're doing it for, they will egg you on. And that's what we do. Our community eggs each other on. That is why people achieve superlative results, because there'll be, those days when they don't feel like, and when they do it, then we encourage them to reward themselves. And then that becomes a loop. So you take an action, you reward yourself, and you start feeling so good about yourself. You're like, you know what, I really did that. And then you get double the energy to work on your goals, because that's where the energy comes from. Otherwise, your energy will become all static.
Yes. Thank you so much, Varun. Like, you have given a complete, I think, checklist of being fit and about very insightful information about reverse aging. Now, coming towards the another part of your life, which is you are also super speaker coach. So, first of all, congratulations for your being the winner of Super Speaker Season 1. And how's that journey looking? How it all started?
Oh, right. That's a story in itself, Sagar. So,
I'd love to know.
Yeah. So, it was 2021, right? And we, as a family, we were just coming out of COVID. I remember, and it was like, we all one by one, so 4 of us, my parents, my wife, myself, one by one, we all got COVID, right? And then my parents, we had to look after them as well at the same time. It was a tough time. And as soon as we came out of that tough time, as soon as we came out, I saw, I went on Insta and I suddenly saw, Suren talking about Super Speaker Initiative. I'm like, this sounds interesting. Wow. And funnily enough, I think there was just 1 day left or something. I think it was the last day entries. And I'm like, why not? Why not? I spoke with my wife. She's like, yeah, go for it, man. So it was more like, coming out of COVID and sort of looking at something, because then you're lost. We came out of that, we were lost. Suddenly, when you come out of such a long phase, a month of your life is gone, and you've been looking after yourself, you've been looking after your family, and suddenly you come out, okay, what am I looking towards? You need something to look towards. You need like a beacon of light. And that became the beacon of light. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to focus on this now. So then put in my first video, right? And like, okay, we'll see how it goes. And as soon as I went into the next round, I'm like, okay, that's it. There was a bunch of things I had started. I left everything on the side. I'm like, I'm going to super focus on one thing. And that's the magic of focus, right? When you focus on one thing with your heart and your soul, and you're manifesting, and at the same time, you're physically working on it every single day, Man, I read books. I watched so many videos. I just kept practicing and practicing work. So it wasn't just about getting in front and started making the videos. I had to get used to the whole thing.
So you were completely new to this video making or everything?
Yes, Sagar, I might have made very few videos before, but again, no consistency, nothing, very few videos. And, I was still very camera conscious back then.
Wow.
Okay, I was like, I still had many excuses. I still kept coming up with like, it's okay, I'll do it later, or the lighting is not right, I don't know what to say, or I'm not going to look good, I'm going to get judged, all those usual things that we do, right? And of course, I went through all that as well. So my only goal became at that point in time, Sagar, was every round, I wanted to do it better than the previous round. That was my goal. Okay. And I did everything I could. I did multiple takes. I practiced. I even for every single round, I wrote down multiple scripts, multiple content. And I was never happy. I was just writing down and I was, tearing up the pages and I was writing down. And I love writing, by the way. So I was just coming up with stuff and I kept doing that over and over and over. And, as I was saying before, if you really focus on one thing and make it your primary mission, I didn't know I would go that far. I didn't know I would be in top 10 and I didn't know I would win, but just focused on it, just completely let everything slide. I mean, I had started another revenue stream back then. I have another business and I started another revenue stream in my coaching as well. And that was going well. I literally put that on hold. Because I realized if I try to do this together, then all of it would be incomplete. So, there are certain sacrifices you have to make. So I made those sacrifices, but in the end, it was worth it. Yeah.
I think that is like biggest learning of from you in this journey is the power of focus and the power of one thing. And I can see that how impactful whenever you speak, that is actually, you all can see that. Okay, so how important is public speaking as a coach? Because not all coaches are a good speaker. Okay, so how is that really matters when it comes to being in public speaking?
So yes, how important it is? Super important, Sagar. I'll tell you why. And I think I mentioned this in one of our public forums before, which is, let's say you are extremely good at what you do. Okay. Let's say you are 10 out of 10 as a structural engineer, okay? Or as a book writing coach, or as a mindset coach.
The topic.
Okay, whatever your topic is, you are brilliant at it, okay? 10 out of 10. But the way you communicate it is 3 out of 10. Now, how is the world going to perceive you? Right? The world's going to be like,
They will not get the essence of what exactly.
The essence of that, precisely. That is why it's the number one skill today, because your ideas, the way you communicate to the world, is how the world will get that. As they say, perception is reality. So there is no objective truth. Perception is reality. Your truth is different from someone else's truth. So when perception is reality, what kind of perception are you giving out to people? And in today's market, crowded market, where you're using the coaches in every domain, how are you going to stand out? So I personally believe that's the number one skill for any coach to stand out. And that is how I got into it, Sagar, to ask your second question, is because, when I had the fortune and the blessing of winning Super Speaker Season 1, a lot of people started approaching me to learn public speaking. That was like an eye-opener. I'm like, okay, I can teach public speaking. I'm like, okay. And I didn't realize that. So I started doing that and I started going back into my own journey of all the lessons I had learned. And I realized I've actually been working at it for the last 15 years. It wasn't just a 1 year thing. I've been actually working on my speaking for a really long time by all the speakers that I've been impressed by over the years. And I've been subconsciously getting all of that from them. So then I started putting all that structure together. And then that's when I started mentoring people in public speaking as well. And to be honest, Sagar, I'm really enjoying it. It's so much fun when you see people come in and they don't know how to express themselves, but they have something really powerful to say. Like this gentleman I was talking to just last week. He had so much wisdom, Sagar, so much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much with so much to share with the world. I mean, he could inspire so many people, and you could see that. And he has the willpower, and he has the discipline, he has the resilience, everything. He just doesn't have the speaking skills, unfortunately. So that's what I'm working on with him, because I know that guy's going to be very powerful once he actually finds his voice. Once he starts to express it, it's going to change so many people's lives. And that is the power. And that's why I'm loving it, because, just as I was talking about my client in their health transformational journey, this is so transformational when you see people light up, and they start seeing their own power. Because, how else are they going to demonstrate their own power unless they speak out, right? How else are they going to express how much they have inside? There are people dying out there. They want to express, they have so much built up inside. They want to express it, but they don't know how to express it. So, that's the whole journey. When we take them on that journey and they start becoming really good speakers, it's very rewarding, Saga.
Varun, you have definitely, in the past 1 year after your super speaker journey, so what are the things that you have seen, the pattern inside the people that's stopping them to go to the next level, to be a good speaker? What are the patterns?
There are a few patterns. One is, of course, the fear. Okay.
Fear,
as they say, public speaking is the number one fear, right? So fear. So there's a few patterns. One pattern is where the people are actually good. Okay. But they have fear. They think they're not good enough. So, they're putting themselves down. You give them that platform and you give them the confidence and they start shining. And then there's the other pattern where the people who think they're very good, but they don't have the nuances of public speaking. They have the confidence, but there's so many nuances to public speaking, right? For example, I could just be out there and speak flat and, I could be newsreader style, for example. Newsreader style is just you sit there, you talk about, you're not supposed to show a lot of emotion, you're very polished, right? Now, does that make a great speaker? Maybe, if you're a newsreader. But if you're a coach and you're into transforming people's lives, that's an emotions game. Right? So you can't be all literally polished and I would say show no emotion. It's a different game, because now you're transforming. When you're transforming people's lives, you got to bring in your raw self. You've got to bring in your transformative self. That's when you become good at storytelling as well. So it depends on the platform you're using. So we see patterns there. We see patterns, as I said, people who think they have the confidence, but they don't have the nuances of public speaking. People who are good, but they don't know they're good. And of course, then there are people who come in, they've got the desire, the willpower, and they got to work on the fundamentals of language as well. Okay. And then there are people who come in, they don't have the desire, or they don't have the work ethic. They have the desire, but they don't have the work ethic as well. Just like in any coaching, for example, right? You could have a mentee who really has a great desire, but they don't have the work ethic. So similarly, this also takes a lot of work ethic. And to be honest, speaking is a lot about practice. It's not that I download a lot of knowledge into you and you become a great speaker. It's knowledge plus tremendous amount of practice. It's like developing a new muscle, right? You go to a gym, you start building your body and you work out every single day or at least 4 to 5 times a week. That's how you develop your muscle, right? Similarly, this is a new muscle you're developing. Now, we haven't developed this muscle for a long time because we have a habitual way of speaking. When you want to get out of the habitual way of speaking into an impactful way of speaking, you start developing a new muscle. That takes practice.
Varun, would you like to share any tips when it comes to, maybe you have coached by topmost coaches across the world. So what are the key components of those speaking? How they make it more persuasive or more engaging? What are if you can just share 2-3 tips around it, so that it will really help the people who are actually in the process of learning that public speaking?
It's a very good question again. I would say it's got nothing to do so much with fancy speaking or fancy accents. I know I have one because I grew up in other countries as well. So I studied in different cultures as well. I lived a lot of my life in other countries, and that is why I have that. However, it's not got to do about that. It's got to do more about being real. Okay? Authentic is a word that's being thrown around a lot. So I would say being real. Being real means when you want to impact someone's life, you talk about what's impacted you. You talk about what's created transformations for you. You bring in your stories and work on that artist storytelling as well. Okay. And do not, so I would say it's not about talking about Cinderella stories that are king and queen stories and once upon a time, this and that, or other people's stories and transformations. People relate to other people's journeys as long as you're vulnerable enough to share them. Okay. Remember, the key word is vulnerable. It's not about sharing your successes. It's not about, I'm great and I've done this and I have this degree and that degree. It's about vulnerability, sharing your failures. So, as I was giving credit to you, Saga, when you went up on stage and talked about your story, I'm sure a lot of people came up to you because they connected with you, because you shared a vulnerable story. You didn't go out there like, hey, I help people massively monetize their Facebook groups, and I've done this for so many people. People like, okay, good, thank you, go home, right? Because people don't want to hear that. People want to hear pain and struggle, because people are going through pain and struggle in their lives. So if you want to be really impactful, that's the point. That's what you got to hit. And you don't hit in a fake way. You do it in the real way, as real as you can, because people can smell you're being authentic or not. You're being real or not. People can smell it. Right? And you do it for others. I would say Blair says it all. Blair says it the best, in fact. When you have the gift, when life gives you that opportunity, you get up on the stage, online, offline, you make it about your audience. You don't make it about you. So, there are 3 stages of life we go through. There are people who things happen to them, which is a victim mentality. This happened to me, this happened to me. Then you move on to buy. This happened by me. Now you're starting to take ownership. This happened by me. And the 3rd stage, and the magical stages, which is for a great speaker to know, it happens through you. Okay? You are a messenger and it happens through you. And you just got to be a channel for that. So you got to remember, you're there for your audience, you're there for other people. We are talking here for the benefit of other people. If as a speaker, I cannot impact other people's lives, then me being a super speaker is useless, right? That's the entire point of it. And I would give huge credit to Blair Singer for that.
Amazing. Yes, Blair is a magician, real magicians. So would you like to share any top of your mentors, or if you are willing to share, who actually create an impact in your life apart from Blair Singer?
Sure. So I've shared this on another platform. The first time I was really impacted by speakers and what a speaker can do was, I think, 15 or 16 years ago. And I was in a university in the US. And, as students, we don't really have much money in our pockets. We're barely living day by day. And I was doing day jobs as well, just to make sure that, I could meet my expenses. And there was an event, just like this National Achievers Congress in India. There's an event by Learning Annex. Learning Annex is a company in the US that organizes these informative educational events. So in the city that I was in, there were posters all around of this particular event, and it was going to have Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki on that. And I didn't know who these guys were, but it looked very impactful at that point in time. So when I went back, checked them online, it's very interesting. But the event was a one-day event. It was fairly expensive and I didn't have the money. So I was like, how do I get the money? I couldn't ask my parents for it, because they're like, you've gone there on education. You've gone there to study in university. We can't give you money to do all your, things that you want to do outside that. So I didn't know what to do. And my heart kept calling me to attend that. I didn't know why. So I asked my friend, I borrowed some money from my friend, and I went and attended that event. And that event became the turning point of my life, Saga, because of that event, for the first time in my life, I was exposed to, on that same stage, Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, Donald Trump, Marshall Silver, Robert Kiyosaki's wife. So all these guys were on one platform. And that was my first introduction to who these people were. I'm talking about year 2005, 2006, I think. Yeah, literally. Man, that just blew me away. I remember sitting there mesmerized. I'm like, whoa, look at the impact they're having on this audience. And a voice inside told me, if they can do it, you can do it. Okay. Now, I didn't know that I'm going to end up being a super speaker. And by the way, this is the beginning of the journey.
Right.
I didn't know back then, but somewhere that seed was planted. So I would say
dots are
right, connecting dots, right. So those people were my initial mentors, and those people remain my mentors as well. Specifically, Tony Robbins and Marshall Silver, big time, because I saw how, a great speaker, Saga, has the power of holding an audience. Now, you can use it for a negative purpose or you could use it for a positive purpose. But when you have mentors around you, like Blair Singer and Success Gyan and Suren and Sids and Rajiv and Pooja, they will put you in an ethical direction, in a direction of integrity, where you come from good and you want to do good and you want to sincerely help people as well. Okay, so if you can put that together, marry great speaking skills with real integrity, that's when you become a force of nature. That's when you start changing. And you know what? A real force of nature I've seen is in Tony Robbins. He is a literal force of nature, and he does it for the good. And that man is a giant ball of love, and his heart is completely open. So I'm hugely inspired by him as well.
Thank you, Warun, for sharing. That is like really inspiring for me. Like, I can see that energy flowing still, like you can imagine that moment. And I think everything is connected to till today what you are. And like you being a super speaker, now there are a lot of people are applying for super speaker season 3. So what message you would like to give to them? How they would prepare and how they will move? Something that is also you're helping a lot of people. So what is the message to them?
So I'll go back to what I was saying before, which is be real.
Be real.
Be real. Don't try to put on a show. Okay. Initially, when I started on my speaking journey, I used to make it about myself. I thought it was about myself. That I'm on the stage, people are looking at me, that I got to put on a show. But I realized through the years of working in this and through mentors like Blair Singer, that when I said that it's not about you, it's about them. So there's a lot of pressure that gets taken off as well. So be real, make it about your audience, make your message about something that can transform someone's life. Okay. And again, as Blair Singer says, who you are speaks louder than what you say. So, work on yourself, literally. If you are one with yourself and if you're in integrity with who you are, that will come out. Your message will be congruent to who you are. And if you're congruent, if your message is congruent to who you are, that will speak volumes and you'll be able to inspire people. But if you feel that you're not congruent, that your message is not congruent to who you are, then your audience will feel that as well. So this is not just about speaking. It's about who you are, and you start working. It's an inspiration to start working on yourself, just like it did for me. And I'm still doing that.
Yeah, it is a work in progress always. There is always, you can be a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Varun, how do you see India in 5 years when it comes to coaching and training industry? Because you have been really interacted with a lot of big legends in India, like you mentioned Rajiv, Siddharth, Suren, all these people. So how do you see in the next 5 years moving forward?
So you know what, I would say what Suren says, literally. Suren's made this his mission to make India the training capital of the world. And by God, it will. It will. One, I know the man. If he puts his mind to something, he makes it happen. Two, the way we're going, the rate at which we're growing as a country, as an economy, as just sheer population, sheer numbers, the amount of coaches we have is, it is certainly going to become the training capital of the world. And the coaches from India are going to impact people from around the world for sure. There's no doubt about that. There's huge domestic market in itself, and there's a huge international market. Well, there's going to be amazing coaches everywhere, but just the sheer numbers in India are going to just blow the world away. It's going to be phenomenal. And the rate at which everything is improving, I'm seeing it just for the last 5 to 10 years. There's massive amount of knowledge, massive amount of wisdom, massive amount of improvement, technology, people, systems, the way people are approaching, the self-development industry that has just taken off in India. Phenomenal. phenomenal. I mean, these big self-development gurus who never used to come to India way back, and then Suren started bringing them in. I mean, now look at that. They just, they know the market is huge. They're clamoring to come to India. So yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, it's the best place to be in the world right now, for sure. If you are a coach or a trainer.
Amazing. Yeah, that is something we are all looking forward to it. Now, when it comes to coaching industry, how important community building is? The last question I would like to ask, but there is something that we are looking forward building a community. Even Siddharth always say that. So what is your perspective about building a community and serving them?
So you recall, Sagar, I was telling you about, like, when I talked about our program, when we do the body transformational programs or the nutritional transformation programs, one of the key essences is the community aspect. Because alone, you can only go so far, but together, you go very far. And so when you're together and you're egging each other on, you don't even know how far you can go, right? So like, for example, in my own super speaker journey, it's not just my journey. It was my wife, it was my family, that support, everyone egging me on, everyone giving me feedback. That's why I was able to go far. If I was just doing it alone, who knows? Who knows? Maybe I won't go far. So it's the same thing here. Community is everything. Is everything. I mean, today, if you are in the like-minded tribe, you'll be able to accomplish things you can never imagine. Right? I mean, this is something that you do, so you drive that as well. So yeah, completely sold on it, man, sold on it. I've seen the power of tribes back in graduation, back in grad school or university days as well. Yes. When I was living in part of a tribe, when I was living in a residential college, when I was living among people from 30 different countries, when we worked together, we created magic. When I was living alone, nothing was moving. Nothing was moving, because there's a circular pattern that happens in your thinking, right? You're thinking the same thoughts over and over and over. And that is another reason why people get mental health disorders. But when you're part of a community, mental health disorder is not even possible, because you're socially interacting with people and there are people always helping you out and egging you on, making you a better person, right? So that doesn't even happen, because that is the stuff that we're made of. So literally what we started this conversation with. Now it is all connected. Right. So all coming back full circle, right? So it's all connected. Yes. That's how powerful this is.
Yes. There's something about your coaching program so that people can learn, those who are watching this specifically in this audience. So your audience, like if you're watching here, please tell us the key learning that you learned from Warun today. And Warun, like tell us something about your coaching. Maybe some people want to learn from you, this, how you actually help.
Okay. So yes, I of course help people reverse their biological age, and biological age is different from your chronological age. Your chronological age is just the number, right? So I am 50, but my biological age last time I checked was 29. And this is what I want to keep reversing, because it doesn't matter what the physical number is, it depends what the biological or the metabolic number is, because that's what gives you the energy, the vitality in your body. Okay, this is what will keep you, get you moving, will pretty much be the life force behind you. So we teach how to basically regenerate that life force and to reverse the biological clock. But to get on that journey, you start with the fundamentals, of course. So you learn the fundamentals. You learn the fundamentals of nutrition, of peak health, of fundamentals of lifestyle. You learn from the best in the world and the best examples in the world, how they've been doing it as well. Then very important is the mindset. The mindset that you need to have to be on that journey, the person who you need to become, okay? And then you start cultivating and developing new habits, and we have all systems for that, so that this sticks for lifetime. So it's not just something that you do right now, okay? And then, of course, there's an element of biohacking, which is just how you make those things stick, and it becomes easier. So you leverage science, and you leverage on behavioral science and the physical science as well, so in biohacking, so that you make things easier for you. And then we have a step-by-step system. So there's how you can start changing your nutrition gradually without any compromise in taste, because if you start compromising on taste, it's not going to stick, right? And then we have an entire ecosystem wherein not only we give you the complete diet plans, we also tell you how to source them, right? How to make them. So we have an entire ecosystem there. Then in terms of the fitness, we do step-by-step hand-holding workouts. So we have a 3-month transformational journey where we teach you all this, right? So we have a separate nutritional program, a separate fitness-oriented program, and there are people who come into a program that's together, done for you as well, and done with you. So it's like, so you have a complete hand-holding, step-by-step fitness, nutrition, how to do that, creating new habits, and you learn not just from me, but you learn from my trainers and you learn from my mentors as well. And so by the end of it, you get these world-class results. So when you come in, you have health assessment tests done, right? So we know where you are. By the time you finish the program, then you do it again, and you do it midway as well. So you are measuring your progress. So by the end, you can see how much biological age you've reversed, how much inches you've lost, what kind of body dimensions have changed, right? How much lean muscle you put on, and how many diseases were you able to prevent? So let's say if you're at the risk of diabetes, if you're at the risk of hypertension, we get you in the state of peak health as well. And that is just the beginning, because once you get into that state and you develop and cultivate those habits for life, you'll have a new version of you that will have so much impact, so much energy that, like for example, I would say, again, I will connect it with Super Speaker Sagar. The fact, one of the huge reasons for me winning, it was the investment I've been doing in myself for a very long time, on my health, on my endurance, on my energy, because the night before Super Speaker Sagar, I hadn't even slept. Okay. So there was a lot going on. Besides, of course, I would say there was a lot of going on in my head regarding Super Speaker finale. But even then, there was a lot going on in my life as well, besides that. So because of that, I couldn't sleep. But the fact that, I could get up there and present was all because of the investment that I've done in my physical health and my mental health. So that's how it gives you rewards later. So you start investment. That's what investment is, right? You invest in financial assets. It gives you rewards later. This is what it's about. And not just that, the other reward, which is you start looking younger, you start looking fitter as well. I mean, isn't that amazing? That in itself is amazing, too, right? Yeah.
Definitely, I will share all the links below about Varun. You can go and check it out. And thank you so much, Varun. And you have given a lot of value when it comes to super speaker, public speaking, and reverse aging and health and fitness. I think these are powerful sessions. All of you, if you learn a lot, thank you, Varun, in the comment box, and show the gratitude that he actually given a lot of value. And I really grateful for you, Varun. You have shared literally open-heartedly everything, whatever I asked and everything. And thank you everyone for watching this podcast. And if you like this podcast, if you feel anybody is going through mental issues, anybody is having that challenges that we discussed today, please do share with them. You never know, this 1 hour podcast can change someone's lives. Please do share, and also share your key learnings in the comment box. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Till then, I'll see you in the next episode.